Now demonstrated diet effects on the health of infants, but not only infants, also young and young adult people, caused by childhood adversity. This damage, you see, can be classified into different categories. On one side, the effect caused by chronic stressors, on the other one, traumatic experience. We know that many of them belong to divorce correlated situation. Chronic stressors, you can see, we have about 8 factors. And I can highlight that parental loss, parental lack, parental separation with long-term family conflict are very often correlated to divorce situation. We have also about other 5 traumatic experience: physical abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, and other situations, several childhood illness. So what I mean is that it has been demonstrated that, for example, a child who got leukemia or a cancer in the first 3-4 years of life will be likely exposed to other disease completely not correlated to the first one. I'm going across all Europe supporting the idea that this is a topic of public health. Public because, you know, parental separation concerns more than 10 million minors in Europe. Health because now has been demonstrated that organic consequences on the health can become apparent after 20-30 years. This is a resume of the psychobiological effects. So we can demonstrate important influence of hormones on cytokines, tumor necrosis factor, interleukin-6, and after we'll see the consequences. Chromosomes, genes, also immunitary system, wide influence of inflammatory protein, CRP, but we can have also influence on puberty and height and eating disorders. 20 years ago, was found that the childhood loss of a parent and poor quality of care are associated with long-term increase in blood pressures. And the research has demonstrated that cortisol levels in adults are increased if in their childhood they were subject to parental loss or other adversities. I have to highlight immediately that divorce is in Western countries the first cause of parental loss. But the chronic augmentation of cortisol is linked to several diseases that can occur in adulthood or in senescence: diabetes, osteoporosis, depressions. And on the other side, we must highlight that through the action of glucocorticoids on the central nervous system, we can have an effect on other hormones, and especially on the hormone stimulating the thyroid. It's not really very common an influence on the growth hormone, but sometimes it can happen. This is a very rare case. My professor of endocrinology saw 2 cases in his professional life, so a completely stop of the production of growth hormone caused by psychological stress. It was a situation of psychological deprivation. It was left by both parents. This is the psychosocial dwarfism. Oxytocin, the hormone of the empathy, of falling in love, but also of the delivery, of breastfeeding. But oxytocin low levels are correlated to depression and anxiety. Well, experience of stress in childhood negatively correlates with plasma oxytocin concentration in adult men. A situation of parental loss or childhood adversity can also increase the cytokines, and elevated cytokines was found in a sample of healthy adults. So it means that this alteration may precede the development of significant stress-related psychiatric disease of many, many years. There's a new topic in USA, is the possible correlation between height and familial disruption. For men, the loss of the father or of the mother during the divorce in early childhood is associated with later puberty. Among women, it was found that only the father's death and not the loss caused by divorce was associated with early puberty. Very interesting are the effects on chromosomes. This is a new topic developed in USA, in Princeton. At 9 years of age, children with father loss have significantly short telomeres. The telomeres are the ending part, the caps protecting the chromosome all life long. if the telomere is weaker, the chromosome will be weaker and they will be exposed to many diseases and during their life. The effects are 40% greater for boys, 90% greater for children. For sure, there's a lot of other situations that can mediate this decreasing, these telomeres decreasing. No difference were found by age of father loss or child's race or ethnicity. And in 2011, it was demonstrated that child adversity heightens the impact of later life caregiving stress on telomere length and inflammation. Okay, I skip 2 or 3 slides to be short, but you can find in the end, you can download the research by internet. This is important. It's worth losing parent by death or by divorce. The scientific literature is unanimous, and they say that it's worse losing parent by divorce. There's a lot of research about that. At the child's age, at the time of parental loss, is an important factor. Yes, loss at age less than 9 years is of greater significance than later loss. We must not be surprised because we have a lot of effects in animal world. For sure, we are not talking about the bears, about the lion, because these are animals, monoparental animal. But for example, 92% of birds, they are co-parenting animals, and also a lot of primates. So we have hundreds and hundreds of research about the organic effects. For example, father absence in monogamous California mouse impairs social behavior and modifies the dopamine and glutamate synapses in the medial prefrontal cortex. Okay, but the topic that I care of is this one. Does the shared parenting prevent childhood adversity and parental loss? For sure, I can demonstrate, it was accepted by the lecture committee of the review, that shared parenting after divorce can prevent damage caused by parental loss, can decrease the conflict on long term, and perhaps can have a positive influence on well-being. This was more discussed. Effects on parental loss are clear because there is a tight inverse correlation between shared parenting and parental loss. In countries where shared parenting has become common, parental loss decreases significantly, while in countries where shared parenting, it means at least 1/3 of the time spent by each parent. So, for example, in Denmark, parental loss after parental separation has actually decreased to 12%, in Sweden it's 13%, but in Germany it's 20%. Italy and Greece, I'm Italian, we don't have a very wide shared parenting after divorce, it's steady about on 25, 26, 30%. Can decrease the conflict. We have a cross-sectional studies and longitudinal studies. To be short, I focus only on longitudinal studies. The Australian experience seems to show that childhood adversity as parental conflict decreased after approval of a new law in 26. This law introduced the presumption of shared parenting, at least 35% spent by each parent. And we can see that in just 2 years, the judicial trail decreased in the family court of 30%. Also in Spain, we see that gender violence complaints, this could be another parameter of conflict, decrease after the approval of custodia compartida law in Catalonia, Valencian Community, Aragon law, because in Spain the law changed according to the different countries. And finally, we recall that in Sweden and Denmark, the judicial trials are progressively decreased as the shared parenting has increased. Actually, Marin Beston told me that only 2% of divorcing couples in Sweden enter a court, and about the same happens in Denmark. About the well-being, the speech is more complex. We can discuss a little bit more. Globally, we have 74 comparative studies published in peer-reviewed international papers between 1977 and 2014. They were subject to 2 different meta-analyses. The first one by Tildegun Sunderlauf analyzed 50 comparative pieces of research. And in this review, you can say that only in 2 research burdened by important bias, but this is another issue, Only in two research that you can see highlighted in red, the researcher found negative effects for shared parenting. The green, you see the green research were positive, the yellow positive and negative were balanced. But the most noteworthy meta-analysis came from the Wake Forest University, Linda Nils's 40-year research during the past 25 years published on International Journal. It's a very complex, very long meta-analysis. We have four final conclusions. First, shared parenting was linked to a better outcome for children of all ages across a wide range of emotional, behavioral, and physical health measures. The second one is blocked now. Okay. There was no convincing evidence that overnighting or shared parenting was linked to negative outcomes for infants or also toddlers. Further, the outcomes are not positive only when there's a history of violence or when the children do not like to get along with the other parent, in this case the father. And fourth, for sure, the couples in shared parenting after divorce tend to have higher incomes, probably a little bit less verbal conflict than other parents, but really these two factors alone don't succeed to explain the better outcomes for the children. There's not a very wide literature about shared parenting in very young children under 4 years. But by the way, we have now some research. The broadest is this one from Warshak, published in 2014. Grounds on 13 papers. It concludes literally with these words: there's no evidence to support postponing the introduction of regular and frequent involvement, including overnights of both parents with their babies and toddlers. Recently has been published on Acta Pediatrica a Swedish research on preschool children living in joint physical custody. And this one show less psychological symptoms than those living mostly or only with one parent. In the end, from USA, Fabricius concludes a research on 230 children and young people that show that more overnight parenting time with fathers up to and including equal numbers of overnights with both parents when the children were very young, 2 years of age, as well as when they were infants under 1 year of age, were associated in adolescence with more sexual relationships with each of their parents. Okay, but the problem is, for sure, is accepted that shared parenting prevents parental loss, for sure prevents the damage caused by conflict, but there's a causal effect of shared parenting on general well-being is more controversial because it became difficult to distinguish between a selection effect or a causal effect. I mean, it's possible that we have selected the sample from the beginning because the parents in shared parenting, it's possible, probably, they are more inclined to talk each other, to have less verbal conflict, to be more better care providers than the parents in sole custody. But the sudden huge increase of shared parenting in Sweden and in Spain lead me to think that there was not only a selection effect but probably a causal effect. Because you see the situation, for example, this is the percentage of children, of Swedish children, in alternating custody after the divorce, after the parental divorce. And should we talk about, or should we opt for a selection effect also after the change of the law? We should have more or less about the same percentage. But after the second change of the law, in 1998, you see that there's a huge increase of children living in alternating custody, equal custody. So it means that we could not talk only about a selection effect. And the same is happening in northeast Spain. Okay, to respect the time, I can tell you that if you go through, you can download the article. It's free from internet. And you see that there's a lot of scientific evidence in this presentation, the measurement of the hormones, of the cytokines, the damage of the chromosomes in electronic microscopy. But you know that in most European countries, the court decided differently. So in my opinion, there's a Cartesian wall who divides the world of human knowledge, the right, the literature, the philosophy, from the world of the nature knowledge. I mean the science, the medicine, the biology. I think that is required a lot of effort, like this ship in Greenland, to break this wall between the right and the science. I'm going around the whole Europe. I see that we are obtaining some outcome, but perhaps I will not live enough to see the end of this battle. So I found also a standard bearer able to conclude my battle. I found it in Seychelles. He can live 200 years and probably he will see the end of the battle. Thanks you for paying attention.